go. What's going on, everyone? Another episode of the Take 3 podcast here. We're here now in week 5. These NFL weeks are really just flying by. I mean, we're already in October. It feels like September as a whole just breezed by completely, if I'm being honest. It feels like snap of the finger and bang, it's October. Starting to get cold outside, starting to get dark earlier. But here we are, week 5. Obviously, it starts off Thursday night in Denver. What a hell of a matchup that is. I mean, does anybody really want to watch Matt Ryan, who's completely cooked, washed? At this point, Jonathan Taylor, don't even know if he's playing. Doubtful he's in a boot at practice. Take on Russell Wilson, who's also washed in his own way. So that is, and then I mean, you look at the early slate on Sunday. It's kind of like the NFL. We were talking about this before. They literally did the ultimate flip flop. We complained about 3 sucky games late afternoon last week, and they said, "Screw you guys. You guys can get an entire 1 o'clock window that's really not that great." When you look at it, the London game, nothing amazing with Green Bay and the Giants, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. It's a lot of huge spreads, and then it's just a lot of matchups that aren't really desirable. And then you get into the later window and into the primetime games where you actually get some decent matchups. So, I mean, what are you looking at when you look at week 5 on the outset before we kind of jump into the 3 games we'll cover here?
Yeah, can't believe it's already week 5. It feels like the second NFL starts, time just flies by. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting week because there's a lot of close matchups in the 12 o'clock window or the early window, but like they're not exactly super interesting, like Seattle, New Orleans. I mean, Miami and the Jets, Chargers and Cleveland. Like they're going to be close games. There's certainly a good amount of close games. I don't think they're going to be super interesting this weekend, to be honest.
So I'm saying there's not a damn game in that 1 o'clock window where I'm jumping out of my chair that I'm like, dude, I gotta watch. There's just nothing there. As you mentioned, Chargers, Browns, but I mean, it's Jacoby Brissett taking on Justin Herbert. It's like, how exciting is that? You know what the Browns are going to do, try to run them to death. And then, I mean, the Chargers are the Chargers. But let's jump into the first game that we're going to talk about that we consider the big 3 of this week. It starts out in Los Angeles. The Rams, 5.5-point favorites, coming off a tough loss where they kind of got dominated by the 49ers on Monday Night Football. Cooper Rush, who's still undefeated as a starting quarterback, takes the Cowboys into LA, looking to keep it going. He's kind of kept the Cowboys season alive. Everybody didn't really know what to expect. Dak gets the thumb injury. Shit, all's lost. And then Cooper Rush says, not so fast, right? I'm a serviceable quarterback. I can get you some ball games. And the defense has played pretty damn good to kind of make up for him not having to do that much. So, I mean, what do you look at? The Rams, they got to be pissed off. They just got embarrassed on primetime against a division rival. And then Cooper Rush, he's looking to, keep the Cowboy season going and kind of make his case. I look at this and it's like, I mentioned this to somebody earlier. I was like, if Cooper Rush finds a way to go to LA, beat the Rams as 5.5-point underdog, he can make his own case that, hey, Dallas should not go back to Dak Prescott just so fast, right? Heading into an Eagles game in 2 weeks. Obviously, when you're Dak Prescott's making $165 million, there's reasons why he will be back on the field. But yeah, what do you make of this game? And should Cooper Rush hold the job if he finds a way to get this game, pull out this W?
The Cooper Rush job thing is interesting. Honestly, I feel like if he beats the Rams and then beats the Eagles next week, I still start Dak Prescott. I'm sorry. Not only is he your paid guy, he's a better quarterback. If you want to talk about Cooper Rush's potential, maybe, or like maybe getting off the Dak contract as it opens up cap space, those are interesting conversations. But like, I don't think in any version of the Cowboys they should be starting Cooper Rush if Dak Prescott's healthy. I definitely think Dallas is chaotic enough front office wise to where they would open up that conversation and let it get murky instead of just supporting their $100 million quarterback. But I'm all for the Cowboys winning this game against the Rams. I kind of actually like them straight up. I do think the Rams will pull out the win, but I love the Cowboys spread wise because I don't know what really justifies Rams minus 5.5. I guess because it's Cooper Rush, but let's be honest, the Rams have not looked very good this year. They have struggled offensively. They don't have a run game. And then behind Cooper Kupp, it's Tyler Higbee getting like 10 plus targets. And I don't think that's great or sustainable. If the Cowboys are able to slow down Tyler Higbee, then it's literally just Cooper Kupp. And we saw on Monday night that you can allow Cooper Kupp to have a big game and the Rams are still not very efficient offensively. And it's just this Cowboys defense has been so damn good that I expect Micah Parsons to be a game wrecker again. I think he's going to be all over the place. The Rams have been giving up sacks. Matthew Stafford doesn't look great. And it's just, I don't know, 5.5 just feels like a lot right now considering where both teams are at. it's wild to say, but like I actually really like the Cowboys to cover here.
Yeah, I love the Cowboys to cover, as you mentioned. I love nothing that the Rams have done on the offensive side of the football. I know that Matt Stafford's elbows beat up. I know that the weapons, he's not comfortable getting anybody really going outside of Cooper Kupp. Allen Robinson's been a no-show. They have no run game through 4 weeks, so it's really hard to trust the Rams. And then you look at the Cowboys defense, right? It's weird to say, but I mean, Micah Parsons going head-to-head with Aaron Donald, they could be battling it out for the best defensive player on that field on Sunday with the way Micah Parsons has been playing. He's outstanding. I look for him to just get after Matt Stafford all day, cause hell, and really push Sean McVay to the limit. They've got to find a way to get a run game going in some extent, or it's going to be a long season just trying to target Cooper Kupp over and over and over and over and force the pass game with a quarterback whose elbow is beat up. And then with the Cooper Rush thing, I mean, I doubt the Cowboys actually do it. I mean, it's the same reason that Ezekiel Elliott's been continuing to get snaps, although Tony Pollard's been better than him for 2 years. When you pay a guy that much, you're kind of forced. But I mean, I'd be crazy if I wasn't lying to say that the Cowboys offense, it's looked better the past weeks because it's just back to basics, right? They're not doing anything fancy. They're running the football, not having the quarterback do too much. And when Dak's out there, they kind of have him, obviously, when he's paid that much, doing too much, right? Trying to extend plays. And he really hasn't looked the same getting outside of the pocket since the ankle injury. So I don't know. I mean, they won't do it, but I think you can make a case, especially if Cooper Rush is able to go on the road and beat the defending champs, right? I just think their offenses went back to basics, which has surprisingly been successful for them.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point because the back to basics thing, I think, is how the Cowboys organization wants to play and how that's how they want to run their offense and be that team, right? But it makes it more difficult when Dak Prescott's in there and you paid him $100 million because he's so talented that they don't do just the basics. They're expected to do more offensively, more in the pass game, things like that. And like it reminds me of when like Carson Wentz and Nick Foles, Doug Peterson really dumbed down the offense for Nick Foles. And then when Carson Wentz came back, it was like he called plays differently. He called the game differently, and it didn't turn out as well. Like I understand Carson was a better athlete, bigger arm, and you could do more offensively, but that's not necessarily the best way. And I feel like that's a similar thing with this Cowboys team. And that there's a chance that when Dak comes back, they kind of switch it up offensively. But I think Dallas would be at its best with Dak Prescott at quarterback, but running a similar run heavy offense. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case when they put the $100 million quarterback in. I think if they could find a balance and run a more simple offense with Dak, they'd be very lethal. But I do think once Dak gets in, they're going to ramp it up offensively, and we're going to see a change.
Oh yeah, they're going right back to the same bullshit, and I love it as an Eagles fan, right? It's let them go back to run their offense. They're no longer scary, right? If they're not going to rely on the two running backs so heavy and just having Dak drop back. Obviously, he hasn't been the same with the legs since the ankle injury, as I mentioned. But yeah, I mean, looking at this game, I love. It's weird as an Eagles fan to also say I love the Cowboys at 5.5-point dogs. Don't really like anything the Rams had going on. I expect it to be close. If I had to guess right now, I'd say like 24-21. Rams get the job done. I do think, as you said as well, I think the Rams they'll have enough. They'll find a way to win this game, but the Cowboys will keep it closer than many people expect. The line 5.5 is weird, but also we've been wrong about these, right? We say, yeah, line's 5.5, that's crazy, and then the Rams beat them by 70.
I'll say this: I'm actually rooting for a Cowboys win because I think it just makes the following week way more fun.
Yeah, it makes it a way bigger game. We'll see the Cowboys in 2 weeks, and we will get break down that one. Let's move on. Sunday night football. We get the first Bengals Ravens matchup of the year. Both of them 2-2. Not really how anybody really mapped it out when you looked at the season. Couple bad losses on each side. Baltimore's 3-point favorites, basically just the standard home field favorite. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. I mean, what do you see here? The Ravens, they got to be pissed off. They continue to choke away games. They're right back at home where they're good at choking them away. Could it be another one in prime time? And Joe Burrow is looking to always beat a division rival and kind of get their season back going as he's looking to get back to the Super Bowl, right? So, I mean, what do you look at when you're looking at Ravens, Bengals? Joe, hypothetically, should be able to feast on the on the Ravens defense, right? That defense, we're not going to jump up and down just because they slowed down Josh Allen in a slot fest game. They're not a very good unit, which is weird to say that for the Ravens. But I mean, what do you make of Sunday Night Football? What are you looking at? Who do you think has the edge?
Yeah, I think this game right now is a coin flip. With Baltimore a 3-point favorite in Baltimore, they're saying on our neutral field it'd be a coin flip, it'd be a pick 'em. That feels right to me. I'm very excited for this game. It's going to be an AFC North division rival, two divisions that do not like each other. Bengals gave the Ravens 2 ass kickings last year, and then the year before it was reversed. They clearly have a lot of bad blood, no love lost between these guys. We saw Joe Burrow throwing like 40-yard touchdown passes with the game very much in hand last year easily. And I think it was a Baltimore linebacker that was very adamant speaking about it after. So it's like these teams do not like each other. I think this is a really good test for the Bengals defense because they've played subpar quarterbacks and they've been a pretty good defensive unit for as a whole this year. And now you get Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Lamar's playing at MVP level. So I think it's going to say a lot about the Bengals defense. And the reason I highlight that is because I expect Joey B to be able to get big plays against his Baltimore's defense. They've shown in the past against Baltimore, he likes to throw the ball, hit big plays, whether it's T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, even Tyler Boyd. I think we're going to see that here. And the reason I like the Bengals +3 is simply because this is a close game. I think it will be decided by a field goal or a touchdown either way, one possession, right? I like the Bengals in the points simply because I got a little more faith in this Bengals defense than I do in the Baltimore defense, especially their secondary.
Yeah, well, you got it. You had the Bengals. What was it? 13-4 preseason. You got to keep riding with. Got to keep riding. Got to keep riding with the Bengals. I don't know. It is a true coin flip game when you look at this. It really comes down to the thing that I go over every week. It's what quarterback will turn the rock over down when it truly matters. We've seen Joe Burrow have a couple bad games, some off games, and then he finds a way to get things going. The Bengals offenses look kind of shaky at times. It looks good on the script, and then you get into the middle of the game, and you're like, what is Zach Taylor calling? It's confusing. And then obviously you mentioned Lamar Jackson playing at MVP level, really carrying and shouldering the load for the Ravens. And then you watch him at the end of last week toss up just really horrible interceptions. So, I mean, that's really, what I'm looking at. What it comes down to is what quarterback can clutch up, what guy's going to sauce the interception to really cost their team. Because, I mean, that's how close these teams are on paper. As you said, neutral field, it's a true pick 'em game back and forth. I'm riding with Lamar, though. I mean, they want to get the two dub back from last year. They got the shit kicked out of them last year. They want to get, obviously, they continue to choke away games. The game last week to come back at home with their fans again. I don't think they want to leave them sour again. And I just think it's a John Harbaugh thing. Get the team going. And I mean, I look at the season series. It'll be a split. I look at these two teams. That's how close they are. I think they'll split in the end. But yeah, I'm riding with Lamar. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be fun. How to see these two guys go head to head, and we get to see them twice a year. Maybe we'll get to see them 3 times if they meet in the postseason. But I'm just giving the Ravens the edge. They're home, and I think they're going to be a little bit hungrier coming off that embarrassing 17-point collapse against the Bills last week.
I'll say this for the Ravens because they've had 2 collapses already. If they have a collapse this week, it'll really be putting pressure. But even less than that, if they just kind of lose this game, I think they'll be sitting at 2-3. Lamar's playing wonderful. Harborough has 2 blown leads this season already. I don't know. I think you can get some questions up in Baltimore. I mean, I don't think anything too serious because they're still a great franchise. I think it'd be kind of silly to make changes. But I don't know. I think the pressure would mount to be interesting if they lose this game.
For sure. I mean, you'd be wasting, especially with all the Lamar contract issues. It's like the situation gets icy. I don't know. They lose one more in crazy fashion. Marcus Peters might fight John Harbaugh. Yeah. It's like, we don't know what is going to go on there. Yeah, it is icy for both teams. Neither team wants to leave this game at 2-3 heading into the middle of the season. It's a true tough one. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, I'd say, a little bit more pressure on the Ravens just because they've pissed away obviously a Bills game last week and then the game against the Dolphins at home. It's kind of, hey, maybe they should do the reverse, right? Let the Bengals get up early and try to do the reverse, right? Don't get up by too many points early. Maybe that's the method. They just got to find a way to keep the offense going for an entire game because they look good out the gates, right? And then they just kind of fall asleep and shit happens like last week and week 2. But let's keep it going. Last one that we got on the docket. I mean, Kansas City we saw what they did last week on Sunday Night Football, absolutely beat the piss out of Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. They're 7-point favorites at home against a Raiders team that obviously beat Russell Wilson's Broncos, but it's like, how much does a Russell Wilson Broncos W count for? I mean, preseason, I would have said a lot. Now that I've actually watched Hackett coach games and Russell Wilson play quarterback this year, I counted a little bit less. Obviously a good first win though for Josh McDaniels, but sucks for him that he's got to play this guy twice a year, and it sucks that he has to go into Kansas City on Monday Night Football. Arrowhead's going to be going crazy. The Chiefs are charged up. They're ready to show, hey, the Bills are they might not be that far ahead of us. They might be behind us, right? They're looking to show that we're the favorites in the AFC. Stop talking about the Bills. Stop talking about these other teams in the AFC, and remind us of how good they are. So, I mean, what are you looking at? It looks like the work's cut out for the Raiders going into Kansas City. The line says it all. They're expecting it to be a big Mahomes, Andy Reid day to just chew up Josh McDaniel's Raiders team.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to agree with Vegas here. I think the Chiefs had such a dominant performance against the Bucs, showing that they can win in multiple ways. I expect Patrick Mahomes to crush this Raiders defense through the air, right? This Raiders defense was not very good. Pretty disappointing that the Broncos could not take advantage of that. But like, hey, the Broncos do not look good this year. I mean, you got the Raiders sitting at 1-3. I mean, last year I probably would have took the Raiders +7. I mean, they won one of the matchups last year. The offense was like going. You add Devontae Adams. You think on paper, but it really hasn't. It really hasn't like come together yet for him. And maybe this is the game that it does, but I sincerely doubt that. You got the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes coming off a phenomenal win on the road. They're coming home Monday night, division game. They know how big it is. I think the Raiders fall to 1-4, and I think the Chiefs get it done by 2 possessions. It's just when you look at both of the states of both of these teams right now, it's pretty hard for me to side with the Raiders, even giving them a touchdown. It's tough.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same point. I think in order for the Raiders to go into Kansas City and beat Mahomes and the Chiefs, Chandler Jones and Max Crosby would have to turn into 2 Hall of Fame pass rushers and just absolutely just kill Patrick Mahomes every single time outright. Because Derek Carr, I mean, he was good last year. He's turnover prone this year. You've seen it with Devontae Adams, a little bit of frustration out the gates, but kind of how their offense is ran. It's weird. I mean, when you watch weeks where Mac Hollins is the #1 wide receiver with the Raiders. So yeah, I mean, maybe Josh McDaniels truly was cheating with the Broncos that whole time, right? Because I watched this and I'm like, dude, maybe he's just a lifelong coordinator, right? Maybe he's just stayed in New England because out through 4 games, I don't really see it. And then, I mean, when you look at the Chiefs, they could really do whatever they want. If they want to run the ball heavy again, if they want to use Mahomes again, air it out, have some fun. I just don't see a way that the Raiders defense is going to be able to slow down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense enough to really make this a competitive, close ball game. I'm with you. I like the Chiefs by 2 scores. I'm rolling with Vegas. And the points, taking the Chiefs. I just think they're going to go out there and have fun. I don't know. It's a rocky start for Josh McDaniels, not enough on defense, and I don't really trust Derek Carr. He's too susceptible to just turning the ball over this year as well.
Yeah, and honestly, this feels like I probably regret saying this because it's the divisional game, but like it just feels so lopsided that like I feel like the Raiders could like get their offense going and score points this game, and like the Raiders D has been so bad that the Chiefs could still cover. It's just I don't know. It's really hard to like be picking the Raiders right now.
Yep, for sure. The Chiefs have just looked that damn good. It's crazy to look at. But let's move on. Week 5 spread picks are live. A lot of points being given out when you look at Giants, 8-point dogs, Bills, 14-point favorites, Buccaneers, 9 with how bad their offenses look. Vikings are 7-point favorites. Jags are 7-point favorites. We just mentioned the Chiefs. Any of these games that you like where you're super like, this is certainly a lock. This is something that I would lock in right now heading into week 5.
I like the Jaguars -7 quite a bit. They lost to the Eagles by 8 points. The 4-0 Eagles that have beat up everybody, really, to be honest. They've looked very good this year. Obviously, it's just a month of games. But like the 2 weeks prior to that, the Jags had back-to-back blowouts against Indianapolis and the Chargers. So like now Trevor Lawrence coming off four lost fumbles and bad weather. They're going. This is a get right spot for them. They're going home against a poor Houston team. Yes, a touchdown's a lot to cover, but like with how good they looked the previous 2 weeks, and they still played a good game against the Eagles for the most part. They they gave up the ball too many times, but they still had a chance to drive down and tie it at the end of the game. So they were right there in theory. I like the Jags to win by a touchdown quite a bit. I think they beat the Texans by 10 to 14 points, if not more.
Yeah, it's a get it back together game for the Jags. I do sort of like that one. The one that I'm going to go with, though, and I'm going to probably sound like an idiot afterward. I like Broncos -3 Thursday Night Football. Matt Ryan, that dude's absolute garbage, and no Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. There goes really their security blanket, their lifeline on offense. So it's like, I don't know. In a perfect world, it's like, how did the Colts score points? How do they really get it together? Matt Ryan's been that bad. Through 4 games and without Jonathan Taylor, I find it hard. They're going to have a hard day on offense going into Mile High. The Broncos, I mean, Nathaniel Hackett, 5 games in, should be able to get it together enough to cover that. And Russell Wilson should be good enough. But I'm only going with that because I find it hard to believe the Colts are going to have a long night and tough ways to score points. I just don't see it. I mean, they've looked that bad. Frank Reich could be on the way out. So, I mean, if I had to pick one, that's got to be it. But I'll probably sound like an idiot when it's like a 1-point game for no reason. Looking back on it tomorrow night.
I agree with everything you said because like it feels like a good spot for Denver. It's just, man, like picking this Denver team with confidence is just rough. They have not looked good, but like if they should 100% cover, like Broncos -3, I do like that spot a lot, but like it's just hard to have faith in this Denver team.
Facts. They met up with the perfect team that I have way less confidence in. That's really the only reason. Yeah, I mean, I don't trust Hackett. I don't really trust Russ. Haven't loved anything there, but the Colts have just looked that bad. And I don't think Shaq Leonard's playing either. So it's like they're taking hits all over, right? It's like, what are they going to be able to get going? But who knows, right? It's typical Broncos stuff. Kind of any closing thoughts there before we get out of here, wrap this thing up? I mean, hopefully the Bills, good luck, Kenny Pickett, but I need the Bills to run up a number on the Steelers.
I would say a good week to tease some favorites. Jags, Niners, Chiefs, Vikings, tease them all 6 points. I would like that quite a bit.
For sure. Well, that's going to be a wrap for this one. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment. If you have any feedback, drop it in the comments below or add us on Twitter. As always, Spotify link will be posted in the description of this video if you're an audio only listener. And yeah, as always, we'll be back next week to kind of break down where we went wrong, where we went right on the spreads, and what crazy stuff happened in week 5.